This is the third Comcast in the Citing and Quoting series. In this Comcast, we'll cover the following topics: how to use long quotations, how to use indirect or secondary sources, and some final tips from your professors, some things they want you to know. Long quotations are those that are over 40 words long. They should be used very sparingly. I know everyone wants to bump up their word count, but inserting many long quotes into your paper is not the way to do it. You should summarize or paraphrase a long section of text instead. Only use a long quotation when you absolutely need to. If you use a long quote instead of paraphrasing, your professor may question if you really understand what you're quoting, or if you're just throwing it in because it's easier to quote than paraphrase, or you don't really understand the meaning well enough to be able to paraphrase. The format of a long quotation is as follows. You indent the entire block of quotation, half an inch from the left-hand margin. You continue to write double-spaced. You don't use any quotation marks or italics. Remember, this is APA style. Some other styles may do it differently. You just need to look up the format in the particular style you will be using. So let's look now at an example of a long quotation. First off, a long quotation should be more than 40 words long, and you can see that this one is. It should always be introduced by one or two sentences. According to Leonard, and that is his last name, ND stands for no date, because I couldn't find a date on the web page where I found this. So, according to Leonard ND of the magazine Canadian Newcomer, and you can tell that this is a publication because it is italicized. According to Leonard ND of the magazine Canadian Newcomer, new people to a work culture should try to adapt by mixing in with their new workmates, : The whole quotation is blocked and half an inch in from the left margin. Note here that the right margin is not justified or straight, only the left margin is. All the citation material is here. The author, Leonard, is in the introductory sentence or signal phrase. You have the year or lack of year in this case, and you have the paragraph, in this case 15, where the reader can find it in the original text. If you don't have stable pages to refer your reader to, as in the case of a web page, you must then count the paragraphs from the beginning of the article and cite it that way. It is always easier to download a PDF of an article because you don't have to count paragraphs, as the pages are stable. Did you notice the square brackets? In a previous section of the original text, it was explained who Binoche was. To help my readers better understand, like that Binoche is from India and that he works in an office, I have put the information into the quote using square brackets. By using the square brackets, the readers can understand why Binoche's opinion is important, that he has experience in that given situation. Last but not least, I want to talk about indirect quotations. An indirect quotation, or some people call it a secondary quotation, is when a writer has quoted a quotation in another or secondary text. It's a quotation of a quotation. Maybe an example will help. If Jang was the original person who put together some words, and then a second author, in this case Strong, quoted Jang, but then you quoted Jang's words that you found in Strong's article, then you would be quoting from a secondary source. That's an indirect quotation. So, if A is the original and B quotes from A, but you quoted A from B, then you must cite it like I have here. Before you go, here are a few guidelines that may be helpful for you when you are quoting in your paper. If you read it and you are using the information, even if you knew it already, cite it. Let your readers know where they can find the information and safeguard against being charged with plagiarism. Understand the sentence before and after the one you quote, and if you don't understand those sentences, don't use it. Common knowledge does not have to be cited, but if you're not sure if it is common knowledge, something that everyone knows already, if you're not sure if something is common knowledge, then cite it. Thank you for listening and watching Quoting 3 Long Quotes and Indirect Quotes.